Hey guys, this is Nikki. This is Scratching the Dirt. It's been a couple of weeks since I posted a video, but I'm back. I've got some updates on what I've been doing in the garden. Not really a lot because it's so hot outside right now. Everything is just doing what it does. Right now it's all about kind of keeping it watered, keeping it weeded, keeping it trellised. And then I've got some pictures that I'm going to walk you through. I did my first ever jam that I canned. Well, in jelly. It ended up being jelly. It wasn't super thick, but it's delicious. So I did a plum jelly and I canned it in the water bath canner, which I've never done before. It was my first time. And every single one sealed. So I'm super excited about that. And then I'm going to share that recipe with you and how to make that. It's a super simple, no pectin needed jelly recipe. So that worked out really well for me. And I also am going to show you, when I made that jam, I also made some homemade bread. So we had homemade bread toast and fresh plum jelly. So I'm going to talk you guys through those things, give you the updates, and then we'll see what else, if there's anything else that we want to talk about. I'm on my way outside right now. It is almost 6 o'clock in the evening. It is still hot out there, but if I find anything that's interesting, I will video that and show you guys. So let's get into it and let's start off with some updates out in the garden. We got some rain today. I wasn't home. I was at work, but I don't know. Let's see if you can tell. The San Marzano tomatoes got pushed over. There's like some little kind of fancy things. Again, this is where we have convinced ourselves that we need to actually trellis our tomatoes correctly, because we like shoved these in here weeks back or a couple months ago. I don't remember when it was now. And I guess there was wind with the rain today. So these got pushed. Last week, I think it was my zinnias. I came home after a storm and they were all down here. They were all laying across this area right here. They were all pushed over. So I have actually trimmed them up. I took some footage of what it looked like after I trimmed them up. And I moved this little fence thing here to kind of keep them back this direction, but and now they're going completely opposite direction. This fence used to actually be on this side, pushing them this way, and then the rain pushed them over here. So the zinnias, they're coming back. I mean, look, they bloomed. All these blooms are new. After I got done like trimming it up after they fell, there was only like 2 or 3 flowers on it. But you can see over here too, this kind of hole in the salvia that happened last week. These down here were actually upright and they filled in that hole. This used to be a big bushy salvia, but that wind kind of took it out. There's not a lot of updates out here. I haven't done a lot. I did some stuff like I added some soil to some plants. I added some soil to the lantanas, the trough. There's always a train. It'll be less loud in a second. I added some soil in here and in here. I don't know if y'all have seen this. This is kind of the corner of the fenced-in area. We put some cardboard down and then just covered it with some of the bagged soil to try to get this area to start dying off. And we'll make this bigger as we get more cardboard. But we want to do blueberries in this corner next year. So in preparation for next spring, there's that. Here's the tomatoes that I planted back in, I think it was the end of June. So remember, they were a little bit bigger or smaller than that. That's one of the starts I bought that it hasn't done anything. But these others, you can see this one's coming up to here. That's like my chest height. So most of them, these are about, you know, mid-abdomen height. So these are growing. These are doing good. This is one of the ones we saved. Also, I forgot, I had these 2 sun sugars here that were like going up and over onto this blackberry panel. I took one out because I was like, there's tons of flowers, but they're not making tomatoes. And I got frustrated because they were so unruly and such a problem. So I took this one completely out. I went over to the compost to start like cutting it up into smaller pieces, and I found like 3 tomatoes on it. So little bitty sun sugars or little cherry tomatoes. So I was mad that I did that. Then I came in and I cut the majority of this one off and just left the really healthy looking parts. I need to obviously put this actually up, like actually clip it onto there so that it can grow up. So I think there's still hope for this one. I think this one, it's creating these like tiny tomatoes. They look like kind of like spoon tomatoes. They're really small. So I don't know about this guy. It may have been a volunteer. I can't remember. We've got some San Marzanos over here too that we saved. We didn't give up on, and they're producing not as much as the other ones over there in the ground, but you know, I'm going to pull this one today. Over here, I don't think I've done anything here. We are getting eggplants, these kinds of eggplants, and then there's the other kinds of eggplants over in the row. Got quite a few peppers coming here, jalapenos, so that's what we want more than anything is jalapenos. And then one thing that has changed, the cucumbers are coming up slowly. This guy here is doing great. It's already up here, but also here's pumpkins. So that, these are pumpkins. So that's a pumpkin right here. And then the cucumbers are up against the trellis thing. But these are pumpkins. So we put some more cardboard over here. You can still see the cardboard sticking out because I wanted to know where I stopped because I need to add more when I get some more. I guess that means I need to shop so I can get some shipments. But and then just put some dirt here because we're gonna let this grass die. And I'm training the pumpkins. You can see I've just put little staples really loosely to train them to come this direction. So I want them all to trail out of this bed and into this area where we're clearing out the grass with the dirt and the cardboard. And then the purple whole peas are doing great. Or cow peas. I still haven't looked to see which ones they are. But either way, I guess what will happen is I'll harvest it and find out. So there's the peas. The cow peas are purple whole peas. And then these are the 4 jalapenos here, 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 and here that I planted the weekend after the 4th of July. And they have been in the ground for a month. And they're just not doing anything. So I actually fertilized them last weekend. I'm not a big fertilizer in the heat of summer person, but they weren't doing anything at all. So we're going to see. Of course, okra is doing what okra does. See, I didn't come out here last night and look, that one's too big, but I've got several here I can harvest from. We're getting cherry tomatoes and San Marzano tomatoes. See, that was my last harvest that I didn't even clean up yet. I'm just going to add to it today. But let me go over here. See, like these are other jalapenos from that same batch. And you can see, look, like something has eaten this. Something is eating this. I don't know what it is. So these are not doing great. So I don't know, but while we're here, we can see the eggplant, that little eggplant. There's just all kinds of things everywhere. The tomatillos, I have 2-gallon-sized bags full of frozen tomatillos for making salsa verde, which I will do probably pretty soon. And I just keep freezing them. I wanted to have enough to make a big batch all at once and then can it up. So, but we're eating little cherry tomatoes and San Marzano tomatoes. We haven't gotten enough San Marzano tomatoes at once to do like a salsa or a sauce. And plus, I guess I don't have enough plants because we keep eating so many fresh that we don't have enough to make anything with them. But there's some in here. There's a little reddish in there. The cool thing is that for the most part this year, we've been able to let things get kind of a little more red. Like you can see these. So in years past, those would have been half eaten by birds. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm grateful for it because now I get to pick things and not wait so long for them to ripen inside. This lantana that I put in the ground last year, look, it's starting to bloom. There's like little blooms coming all over it. I'm excited for that. They're so beautiful when they're bloomed out. I think that's all the changes that have happened in the last couple of weeks. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this plum jam / jelly, whatever it is, recipe. So the reason why I did this is because Jose and I got a big box of plums from his mom that she got from who knows where, but I love plums. I want plum trees so bad, and that's probably going to be on the list for what we're going to have next year started. But she got these plums and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I've been saying I want to learn how to can something. So I got a super simple recipe and this is all it was. So you're probably right now you're looking at the box of plums. This is what I got. All I did was I took them and I cleaned them and then I chopped them all up into pieces. And because it was middle of the week, I couldn't make the jelly right then. So I froze them. I ended up with 2 full gallon size containers of plums, chopped plums. Sorry, losing my mind here. I actually still have one in the freezer. Hang on, I'm going to show it to you. Okay, excuse my freezer. There's so much stuff in here. But here's one of the plums. It's actually underneath some stuff. And Jose packs the freezer, but that's a full gallon. It's full all the way. And then down here is what was left. Back up. What was left from the other gallon that I used for the batch that I'm about to tell you guys about and show you. So I had those in the freezer. I put them in the freezer during the week. And then on the weekend, when I got ready, I just took that bag out, the one that I just showed you that is partially full now. The gallon bag holds about 10 cups of chopped plums, and I only needed 8 for the recipe. So I don't know, you may feel a certain way about this, but I took the plums and I just refroze them, the ones that I didn't use the first time. So I'm going to end up making more plum jelly with what I have left. But I wanted to just do kind of a smaller batch to test it out. So all I did was I thawed those. I measured out the 8 cups. I added the sugar, and the recipe I found called for lemon juice. I didn't have lemons, so I used lime. I actually like the flavor of lime better than lemon. So I went for it to see what it would do. So, and then it was, I believe it's like 2 or 2.5 tablespoons of lime juice. Because I had frozen the plums, and then when they thawed, all of the juices kind of came out of it to begin with. So it was very juicy to begin with. The recipe told me to let them sit in the sugar and lime juice or lemon juice for about 15 minutes before I started to cook them. But I skipped that because the purpose of that was to get all the juices out. Well, I had the juices out. So then I just brought it to a boil. I put it all together, and then let it simmer. Because I did 8 cups of plums, I simmered it for about 65 or 70 minutes. It took over an hour because it's just concentrating down and getting thick. So I just let it go. And then When that was done or getting close to done is when I put my jars into the water bath canner, brought that up to heat to sterilize the jars and get them warm, because the warm jelly was going into a warm jar so we didn't cause any cracking. And I pulled those out. And then what I did, I see a lot of people, sorry, I'm holding this instead of using a thingy. My arm is like hard. I see people who will take them all out at once and line them up on their counter, and they just add stuff. Well, I was nervous because I've never done it before. So I took one jar out at a time, put it on the counter, filled it up with jelly. I wiped the rim with vinegar on a paper towel, and then I set the lid and I screwed fingertip tight the round band, the band. Struggling here. You can tell I've never done this before except for this one time. And then I sat it, and it just sat there. It stayed plenty warm while I did the rest of them. I think I ended up with 7 or 8 jars. And then I just brought the water up to a boil, put them back in there, and I processed them for 10 minutes. And then I pulled them out. I set them over here where we actually have our drying mat, where we dry our dishes. And I just left them there for 24 hours. And then when I came back and checked them the next day, they were all good. Nothing moved on the jars. So they are jarred up. Let me see if I can find them. Jose put them away. Hang on. Okay, so I have these. Sorry, y'all. There's stuff everywhere. I have these. This one was the one that wasn't completely full. Like the recipe didn't fill it all the way to the top. So I was like, okay, great. That's the one we're going to keep in the fridge. We're going to eat that one first. So we have eaten a good chunk of this already. This is one that's sealed. You can see there's no up and down movement. It's sealed. We went ahead and left that one out because we figured we'd be eating it fairly soon. So these came out of the fridge. So after these, I believe I have 6 or 7 more jars. We've given a couple away, but we have more. And I'm going to make more because, as you saw, I have a lot of plum jelly left. Then this last picture that you're going to see is a picture of the bread that I made. It's kind of a long recipe. I've made it before years ago, and I've probably made it like 5 times over the years. And I just don't have it perfected. And I did a thing with this one where I ran it through the KitchenAid, the dough hook thing to knead for half the time. And then I kneaded it by hand for the other half of the time. It ended up really crumbly, like a more crumbly bread than I remember it being. So I'm not sure if that's why, but I'm going to do the bread again. And when I figure out what happened, then I'll share that recipe with you guys too. It's a very basic white bread recipe, but it was still delicious. It was just too crumbly. Like it made a mess all over the counter when we sliced it with the bread knife. So there was that, and that's exciting. That's all, I think. Okay, bye. Okay, guys, that's it for this week. What's been going on here with the garden and my excitement for my jelly and my homemade bread. And then I also have another thing that I did in this past week that I want to talk to you guys about, but I'll probably talk to you about the next one. It's all about my dehydrator and what I'm doing with some of my stuff from the garden with the dehydrator. But that's going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed seeing what's going on, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.